Alright, so normally I script these things out, but lately I've been having trouble writing, especially writing these videos, so there haven't been any. So I figured rather than, not writing anything, I'll try to just go off the notes that I have and we'll mix it up this time around. This one was already going to be kind of a weird one to write, so we'll go off the script for once and see how we go. The Divas division. This was so terrible. Ugh. From WWE 13 to 2K16, there was the Divas division before we rebranded everything as the Women's division. We had the Divas division, and for the first 2 years, it wasn't bad. You had some decent champions in there like Beth Phoenix and Caitlyn. They had some decent reigns as or Natalya as well. Natalya was in there. So you had 3 pretty solid champions. There were some decent rivalries in there. Like at the start of the series, there was something going on with AJ and Karma, and that was like an interesting sort of 3-way rivalry with the Divas champion Beth Phoenix also being involved. And then from there, Natalya took over as the champ, and she ended up having that Hell in the Cell match with Caitlyn at No Way Out for the Divas title, which was, not great for like the first women's Hell in the Cell in the series, but I was still putting emphasis on the women. They were having actual rivalries, so it started off good. It started off at the very least decent, and then things went downhill pretty much after Caitlyn lost the title. I mean, Summer Rae took over at the Superstar special, and then she got into a feud with Brie Bella, which really wasn't all that good. I mean, they had a match at WrestleMania. The match wasn't even 5 minutes, which, you want to showcase the women. 5-minute matchup, yeah, that'll definitely make people invested in the division. And really, things just went into a slow downward spiral from there. You went from having 3 champions who all consistently had 84-day reigns, which, yeah, maybe a little on the nose for repetition there, but they're still decently lengthy reigns, to then you got a couple champions with 56-day reigns, and we're down to just a 1-month reign for Tamina at 28 days. The title was a hot potato. It was flipping back and forth. It went from Summer Rae to Brie Bella to Paige to Tamina back to Paige. Then we gave it to Nikki Bella, and then I got rid of the division, which there was some backlash for that, rightfully so. Looking back on it now, I do still think that was the right call to just take a break from it and just start fresh in 2K17 with the women's division. And you had the tournament to create the hype and start introducing the new talent as well as bringing back the older people from the Divas division. And so I think ultimately that was the right call, but still at the time, it not a great move to just shelve the Divas division. That just really went to show how terrible of a condition it was in, how terrible of a state it was in. So yeah, not my finest hour. Pretend it never happened, and we'll just pretend we just started with the women's division in 2K17. Although we can't actually pretend that the Divas division never happened, because some of the rivalries in the women's division operated on the knowledge that the Divas division was once a thing, so we can't actually pretend. This next one was more of a method of presentation rather than actual storyline mistakes, but having the history of universe mode based in this, in more so the universe mode in the game, where there's still the match screens popping up and you've got simulations in there. Yeah, not making the transition to the style I have now was ultimately the right call, but still it's kind of awkward if you go back to those older episodes and it's very clearly you don't have the same level of immersion there. And so the history of the series, that's another one of the things that makes this kind of a, if I wanted to have someone go back to the very beginning of the series, it is such a radically different series now than what it used to be. I even tell people that, the ideal starting point would be, go back to, say, Payback, or go back to Survivor Series or whatever. And if people do start at Payback, going off the advice I gave in that one video I made, even then, you're still looking at some of the shows, or, if you're not focusing just on the pay-per-views, you're still looking at a lot of these shows still showcasing the match screens. It wasn't until Survivor Series, it was after Survivor Series in 2K16 that I finally stopped showing the menu screens for Raw and SmackDown episodes, because I finally realized that, hey, it does kind of break the immersion. So I stopped doing that, and now everything is just streamlined. It's the shows we've slowly gotten better at making things more seamless, actually making it feel like an actual show, and not just a series of matches spliced together. But those older videos definitely have not aged well. If I have someone coming into my series now from 2K18 and looking for that immersion, or I should say 2K19 now, coming into the series and looking for that immersion, to then maybe want to go back and catch up on the history of the series and see a not immersive product, yeah, it's not great. And the match simulations get even worse when you consider that on certain occasions, these simulated matchups would actually have pretty significant ramifications on stories within the universe mode. Case in point, Royal Rumble WWE 2K15 World Heavyweight Championship, Mark Henry versus Randy Orton versus Rey Mysterio in a triple threat. I have talked about this a little bit before. At this point in the series, we had just come off of Christian versus Mark Henry at TLC, and the goal was to line up a triple threat for the world title between Mark Henry, Christian, and Edge. Unfortunately, Christian and Edge were DLC, so I didn't have access to them immediately, and I didn't use created wrestlers back in the day, so I was kind of stuck, and I just had to introduce new challengers for the title. So Randy just kind of got shoehorned in there. He might have actually won a match that I showcased. I forget who he fought, but Orton earned his way into the match. And then on the last episode of SmackDown before the Royal Rumble, I had a match with Mark Henry and Rey Mysterio, and I just said, hey, if Rey Mysterio wins this simulation, then sure, we'll add him to the match. And Mysterio beat Mark Henry via simulation and got a shot at the world title. Let me repeat myself. Rey Mysterio got a world championship title opportunity via simulation. No. Fortunately, he didn't win the title because that would have been an even longer lasting implication on the series. I mean, just imagine he wins via simulation to get a title shot and then also goes on to win the title. That would be terrible. Thankfully, Mark Henry won the match, so I don't have to be concerned about that. But still, Rey, he deserved better than this. He really deserved better. Let's talk about my old pay-per-view promos. We're talking way back, once again, WWE 13, all the WWE 13 promos, and the first 3 from 2K14. Some of these you can't even view on YouTube anymore, or if you can, the songs have been removed, so it's just silence with visuals, because I used a lot of copyrighted music back in the day, because I didn't know how YouTube worked, apparently, because we're talking way back, like 2013, 2014, no, the later pay-per-views are probably still in 2014, so this is way back before I even really knew what I was doing. So I would just pick, like, the Extreme Rules promo uses a song from Breaking Benjamin. Like, of course that's gonna get copyrighted. There's like a Skillet song in one of them. It's so terrible. And the worst part about it is that my 2K14 SummerSlam pay-per-view actually had some of those promos in the show itself. So now plus I also did weird stuff with entrances back then where I would not commentate over them and use the music. So like SummerSlam is permanently destroyed by copyright. I can never, like, there are certain songs in there that the YouTube editor will not remove the songs from. Like, it breaks the thing. So I just can't recover that video, so that's gone forever, basically. And I have already taken some of the songs out of that SummerSlam show, so there's a lot of silence in there too, and I did all that work for nothing. Like, I would get rid of one song, and then YouTube would detect another song, and it's like, I gotta take another one out. It was a headache. This is why I just commentate over the entire show these days. I don't even worry about having an announcer or anything. I just talk all the way through it. Other people do it, and it's fine. People enjoy the product that way. And if I am going to use music, if I am going to do certain cutaways, I will either A, use just stuff from the YouTube audio library, stuff that is not going to get copyright claimed because it is intentionally there for fair use. So that's fine for me to use that kind of music. or I will take some songs that were uploaded to the Montage Rock YouTube channel, which, for those of you who don't know, is, I mean, there are a couple of other channels like this, but this is the one I'm most familiar with. It's a channel that uploads music from bands that have not been licensed yet. So their music is still, I don't know if it's fair use, I don't know what exactly it quantifies under, but like they're not with a label. So some, I don't know exactly the full inner workings of it all. But nowadays, if I'm going to do a promo or like a highlights video like I just did for SummerSlam, then I will use songs that have been posted there, because it's less likely that my stuff will get copyright claimed. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is completely fair use, because if the band gets signed to a label later on, then yeah, my videos will be retroactively copyright claimed. So I have made videos before that were fine at the time and have since gotten copyright claimed because the band got signed with a label or something like that. But at the very least, with this kind of music, even when they do get signed, I've never had any video get like blocked worldwide copyright claimed, or like blocked in certain countries, which with the other music that I used to use would happen. So some of my videos would just not be viewable in certain countries, and that's not good. I want my stuff to be viewable all over the world. I want people to be able to watch my stuff. So that covers the music. Now let's talk about the visuals of these promos, because if you follow me nowadays and you follow my promo packages, you'll probably have noticed that I like to do a lot of fast-paced editing. I like to do a lot of visual effects. Now, I've since toned it back from what I used to do on occasion back in the day, but I like to do things like matching with the beat. I like my videos to be very percussive, I guess. So I like to cut clips on beats or have like impact frames happen at the same time as like a drum snare or something. But back in the day, no, I didn't do that, because that would have been too much work. No, back in the day, I just very lazily cut footage together. So there was, fading between clips, and which, I still fade between clips now in my videos, but there's more, I put more effort into trying to make everything visually entertaining to like keep you engaged. So there's a lot of fast cuts and whatnot. With what I did before, it's a lot of just taking clips from episodes. Things would be like, I don't know, if I were to just randomly guess like the average length of a clip in my newer, like the highlight package I just put out, for example, I'd say, I don't know, the average clip might be like 3, 4, 5 seconds maybe. Whereas in these, it'd be like the average clip is, I don't know, 20 seconds, 15, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, I don't know. Not a lot of editing involved in these older videos. And when there was editing, it wouldn't always look very good. Some of the transitions look messy. And by the time it did get to around the 2K14, 2K15 stages where I had solved the music problem, this was around the time when I started to get into more of an AMV style editing. And so I would add in new effects, but back then I was still experimenting with a lot of these effects. So often I would try to like cram a bunch of effects into the video. And most of the time they didn't look very good. I didn't have the knack for timing down. Sometimes all the effects kind of clash with each other, and it looks sort of jarring and not visually appealing. Not to say that these videos weren't an important step in my growth, because I had to experiment with the effects to understand how they actually work and how I could actually use them in a good-looking video. But yeah, they didn't all age well. Some of them look pretty bad. Some of them are pretty good, but have like little moments in there that just look awful, or just don't quite look right, doesn't quite line up how I wanted it to. But yeah, if you go back to my older videos and you start, you look at my silent now WWE 13 promos, since probably all the music has been removed from them by this point, or you just can't view them if the music is still there. But yeah, you go back to my older videos and just look, you can see the slow evolution in my promos and see how I went from making not editing these things to then over editing these things, and then slowly dialing it back a little more and getting to the style that I have now, a style that I'm pretty proud with. But the older stuff, Forget them. Forget they ever happened. Forget this video existed. And that wraps up today's video. I hope it was still enjoyable, even if it wasn't scripted. Now, the next time we come back for a Pretend It Never Happened video, it will probably be the last Pretend It Never Happened, because at this point, I only have one idea left that I've been saving for a rainy day, because I know it's going to be a big endeavor, and I will script that one out, because I know it's going to be a big project. But it's probably going to be the finale of Pretend It Never Happened. Never say never, of course, even though never is in the title of this video, but forget that. But because my series, I think, has gotten better, there aren't as many mistakes that I've made that I just want to outright erase. Like, I have talked about some of the things that didn't quite gel with me in more recent times, but even with those mistakes, I don't think they're as egregious. I think they're more forgivable, or they have like forgivable qualities to it, and as such I wouldn't really say Pretend It Never Happened, because it still accomplishes something, even if it's not up to my general standards now. I guess that's the problem with me getting better or gaining more experience in this stuff, is that I make less mistakes that make me want to go back and delete the video from the face of YouTube. So by that metric, that would also mean that I have less to talk about in a Pretend It Never Happened format. So yeah, the next time I come back for a Pretend It Never Happened video, it's going to be covering the saga that is the UCW storyline. That's right, it's going to be a big endeavor, so be sure to stick around for that. I might be doing more What Could Have Happened in the meantime, because I don't know how long this video is going to take. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon, considering the last time I did something like this, a shorter style of Behind the Universe video, it was the What Could Have Happened Part 3 video, and that was at the start of January 2018, and it's now October 2018. So yeah, it'll probably be a little while until I get to that one, but I will probably try to do some What Could Have Happened in the meantime, so stick around for those too, I guess. Behind the Universe WWE 2K17 will be happening as well, but as for What Could Have Happened, I don't see that part of the series ending anytime soon, because while Pretend It Never Happened is more about stuff I'd want to erase completely, What Could Have Happened is just booking scenarios that I ultimately didn't decide to go with, which, as I continue to go along, I will still scrap ideas for the series. So that series will probably continue to keep getting fueled by future content, whereas Pretend It Never Happened will... I'm running out of fuel with Pretend It Never Happened, whereas What Could Have Happened will keep replenishing itself. And then once I finish Pretend It Never Happened, I may try to do something kind of like the Remember It Happened idea that I talked about in some video a little before. I forget what even video I mentioned it in. But it would be a more positive reflection on the series, looking back at certain storylines or maybe certain characters and just kind of maybe documenting their journey, how they got to where they were, what the story was there, why I appreciated that story. So it would be kind of the antithesis of Pretend It Never Happened, hence why it would be called Remember It Happened, although I don't know if I'll actually brand it like that, because then the title, with how I'd want to word it, it would get kind of wordy, because like Pretend It Never Happened, I just do part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that type of thing. Remember It Happened, though, I'd probably title them according to whatever the subject matter is. So like if I'm looking at a character, I'll title it by the character, like The Rise of, I don't know, Ryback or something. So to also break that up as like Remember It Happened part bleh, I think it's just gonna be a little wordy. So I probably won't brand it as that, but that's basically what it'll be. Anyways, that about does it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll enjoy the next one. And until then, keep on YouTubing.